Now we will start the program. As we mentioned, each one can introduce themselves with their name and what they do or what impact they have created in the society. And try to keep it less than 2 minutes so we can cover all in the next 45 minutes. Start with Zafar Sahab.
Hello everybody, my name is Zafar Iqbal. I am originally from India, in US for more than 45 years. Basically, I'm a neuroscientist, worked with the US government for Veterans Health Administration for a long time, and last year I retired. My job is mostly taking care of scientific problems we have in here. And in the community, I am interested in some social and community affairs for some time now.
Thank you, Zafar.
Hello, my name is Zachary Atala. I'm originally from New Jersey. I'm here in Washington, D.C., working on the Capitol Hill as logistics. So anything you think of, tables, chairs, we manage that. We keep all the inventory of everything. So a lot of it can be physical. Also, another part of it is just keeping inventory of everything.
Well, good morning. My name is Abu Saleh Sharif. I'm an academic. I am associated with US India Policy Institute in Washington, D.C. But I'm a new person to this country, so I try to articulate democracy and diversity impact and development in India and USA. I compare them and publish. So I have, you can Google me, and then you have a lot of publications to be downloadable. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my name is Nikhil. I'm an advocacy director with Hindus for Human Rights. We're a DC-based nonprofit organization that works on pluralism, civil rights, and human rights in South Asia and North America. And in particular, we try to provide inclusive Hindu voice against caste and Hindu nationalism and racism and Islamophobia. So all forms of bigotry and oppression. And I've worked with Dr. Ghouse in the past and very excited to meet all of you.
Hi, my name is Nazera Azam, and I work with, actually it's my organization, the Global Beat Foundation, and it's an advocacy group for the journalists, not only South Asia, but globally. So, and I also write for a newspaper in Pakistan. It's Video Diaries, weekly. My topics are democracy, human rights, politics, and US-Pakistan relationship. Thank you.
From Pakistan, and I have worked for 25 plus years in international development, worked with very prestigious organizations including Oxfam, Great Britain, Care International, Concerned Worldwide, and for the last 6 years I am in the United States. And here these days I'm working for an organization called Muslim Response USA. So we are implementing development and poverty-oriented and humanitarian programs in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. And we are very close friends to Dr. Mike, and whenever he organizes an event or something like this, we are proud to be participating in those events. Thank you very much.
I am a retired person, so I don't have a job, but I'm living my passion. I'm a networker of people. My name is Muna Audi Zar. I'm a Palestinian refugee, Lebanese, but this is my country now. So I feel like I belong everywhere and nowhere. So I work on networking, reconciliation, and bringing leaders together to see what brings them to build a better life for the future.
I'm Bareen Arif, and we both work with, with his organization, and I have my small catering company as well. So I work with and we have 3 kids together. And as my husband told that Mr. Ghouse Mike is a very good friend of us, and that's why we are here today to support him. Thank you.
My name is Khaled Almaeena. I'm co-founder of Jeddah United Sports Company, one of the leading organizations in Saudi Arabia for promoting sports and sports diplomacy. And I'm also a consultant to many educational institutions like King Abdulaziz University, UBT, and Dar Hikma, and many others.
Hello, my name is Asad Hassan. Thank you, Mike, for inviting me. I am an international broadcaster working with the Voice of America. So I have been in business from last 22 years and currently working with Voice of America and multimedia journalist. I have reported several stories and moderated hundreds and thousands of shows on current issues, international affairs, and luckily we had one of the prestigious guests. He is the guest of the evening as well, Dr. Almaeena. So he has been one of our prestigious talker. So this is what I do.
My name is Samar Fatani. I am a retired broadcaster and journalist. I've published a few books about Saudi Arabia, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here. It's very close to my heart, the subject of creating a better world, a mutual understanding. All my articles and books were always centered around this subject, so it's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Akbar Khwaja. I moved to Washington, D.C. Back in 1983 as a doctoral student at George Washington University. I have several caps, hats, and turbans. I'm a former senator, Senate of Pakistan. I've been an adjunct professor at George Washington University. I'm also a World Bank retiree. Now I'm volunteering for Transparency Funds, focusing on the accountability in developing projects. I also run a charity hospital back in Pakistan in a small town called Mianwali, focusing on neonatal and maternal health. I thank you, Mike, for inviting me.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ali Imran, and I have been a journalist for a long time. I started with AP Pakistan and worked for Reuters and other organizations. And I started my own English language magazine in America, Views and News. And currently I'm working for the Voice of America as an international broadcast journalist. And on the art side, we are working on a poetry project, which seeks to bring arts and creative thinking to America from South Asia and the Middle Eastern countries. Thank you.
I am a management consultant, a facilitator. Hi, my name is Fatima Argan. I am a management consultant, a facilitator, a women's empowerment advocate, and an interfaith activist. I am the chair of the Arlington Democrats Interfaith Outreach and Advocacy Caucus, a former co-lead and co-founder of the Arlington chapter of the Sisterhood of Salam Shalom, a VP on the Jewish Islamic Dialogue Society, and a board member of CFP. I also am in the process of working on a number of Middle East peace initiatives. One involved, one coming up on September 14th, which is an all-woman panel discussing what's going on the ground in Israel and Palestine. I invite you all to tune into that. I can provide further information. Whoever's interested can come up to me after or during the program, and I'd be happy to give them more information. Thank you very much.
Retired, but I am just as busy as I ever was. I am on the board of the Jewish Islamic Dialogue Society, treasurer of that board. I am a lay leader for my congregation, Kol Ami, which means voice of my people. Some of you are my cousins, all of you are my family. And I'm also president of the board of Focus Music, an organization that produces live folk and acoustic music. There are actually 3 concerts this month, one this evening, our first live one in a year and a half. But we continue to do virtual shows. Later this month, there is a show that may be of interest. In partnership with the Rumi Forum, we're presenting a duo called Tabla for Two, who will be putting the music of Rumi to music. The poetry of Rumi to music. If you're interested in that, September the 23rd, focusmusic.org, that's one word, with focus with a C. So, thank you.
I want to say one more word. He is my brother in so many ways. I'm on kidney dialysis, and he's promoting among his community to somebody to donate the kidney, and he has been with me in hospital several times. I want to thank you, Herb.
My brother.
All right.
Hi, everybody. My name is Noura Hassouna, and I'm actually a recent graduate from George Washington University. I got my master's in international affairs, where I got to concentrate on global gender policy and the Middle East. So any previous positions that I've held usually revolved around research and human rights in the Middle East, and I'm also currently a teacher's assistant at GW. So nice to meet you.
Kaskas, originally from Lebanon, moved to the United States in 1969. I'm a retired business consultant, just like the lady over there. And I'm extremely busy working with the Quran translation and with the Quran with the references to the Bible. And the new book is coming, the Quran with the references to the Tanakh, out of respect for my Jewish brothers, Jewish friends. This is all I've been doing lately, except trying very hard to be a close friend to Mike. Am I succeeding?
You are successful.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Started a program every Sunday, 2 to 3. It's called the Common Sense Islam. There is a need for people to, majority of the Muslims go with common sense and moderate, but they don't have the voice. We're trying to give that voice every Sunday, 2 to 3. And we have found 17 values that change how the societies function, like justice, peace, truthful, and these values. Justice, yes. These are the values that create cohesive societies. And together we are doing this program. Anybody wants to join, it is on Sunday, 2 to 3.
Where do you find it, Mike?
I'll send you the link.
Is it podcast or is it?
Zoom, right now at Zoom. And we're looking to get a radio show pretty soon.
And YouTube, and
YouTube.
Facebook.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Iman Kaskas, his wife. We together partner to work for reconciliation. We both use this translation that he did first, a contemporary understanding, the Quran, a contemporary understanding. In the second book, the Quran with references to the Bible, we use them as tool to bridge the gap that exists between people of faith, that is of our making, not of God. So this is our passion for life, and this is what we do pretty much 24 hours a day. I am especially thankful today for Mike for putting us together, for bringing us together, and especially with Khaled and Samar and Lena. I see Lena joined us later. We are neighbors. We lived in Saudi Arabia for almost 30 years, and we lived in the same neighborhood. So it's wonderful to see you all today.
Hello, Richard Wilson. I'm president of Saudi U.S. Trade Group. We're a business association based here in the U.S. We are focused on the U.S.-Saudi relationship in its entirety, but originating from a business perspective. We cover everything. My connection with Khaled and Summer is both personal. I consider them great friends, but Khaled and Summer are both members of an interesting group in Saudi Arabia called the Committee for International Trade, which is a subcommittee of the now Federation of Saudi Chambers that deals with external trade issues. So I work directly with CIT. I founded the Saudi U.S. Trade Group because when I was first hired to work with CIT, my predecessor was a lobbyist, and I said, you know, I'm not going to lobby, and on top of that, you don't want me to be a lobbyist. There are better ways to go about this. We have done major conferences all over the U.S., trade-related, special meetings, delegations, outreach. In particular, we're very active in digital media. We've established a newsletter and social media platforms that this year, and I know you're all media folks, some associated with very large publications, but we'll have 5 million unique views of what we're distributing, and we've built a tremendous reputation and a brand for reliability and real insight. So it's been a useful platform. A great surprise. We've also introduced a new podcast called the 966. I mentioned this because we all need to. I'm going to be speaking with Lena and Khaled and Summer about this. We just did a really interesting conversation with the gentleman who was the sous Sherpa and the political policy director for the G20. And we talked about the legacy it left in Saudi Arabia in terms of talented youth. But anyway, very nice to be here. Mike, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Mike, for inviting me here. I'm Lalit Jha. I'm a journalist from India. I have been here for the last 12 years, and I write for PTI, Press Trust of India. This is India's largest news agency. Thank you.
Yeah, the Center for Pluralism was established in 1996 and incorporated in 2011. and it is about pluralism in religion, politics, society, and workplace. Pluralism simply means respecting the otherness of others and accepting the God-given uniqueness of each one of us. Pluralism in religion is endorsing, accepting, acknowledging that every religion is valid to the believer of that religion. Pluralism in politics is accepting that Republicans and Democrats, in our case, are different. We have to accept that difference, and we don't need to force anybody to change. It's all free will. Pluralism in society is what you wear, what you eat, is nothing denigrating about what I eat or what somebody in Zulu community eats or they eat in India or Japan. They are different foods. The essence of eating any food is fulfilling the nutritional and hunger needs. When you worship God in different ways, different religious groups, you are worshiping God. It doesn't have to be right or wrong for others. And what workplace, many parents poison their children at the beginning. Well, he is Jewish, he is black, he is Muslim, he is that. And as the child grows up to become old, ready to go to workplace, even though that has not, the parents may not have said it, somebody is bad, but their attitudes is absorbed by the children. When I go to work in a workplace and I have to work with Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Christians, blacks, and different communities, I am holding myself from completely being friends with the other person because of the prejudice in me. Even if I have brilliant ideas, I'm holding that ideas because I don't trust the other person. I may not be aware of it, but I'm doing that. So as a result, we need to teach parents not to poison their children, because when you go to work, you should enjoy working there with freely and be productive person at the workplace. And when you go home, you should be completely free from any of these tensions and give 100% of your time to your spouse and your children. That's how we improve the quality of life and become better citizens. And that's what Center for Pluralism is about. I have put a 3-page brochure on your table. Please feel free to take it. And we have many accomplishments and many impacts. One of the impacts I can talk about is our anchor programs are Holocaust and genocides. We do every year for the last 16 years. Thanksgiving celebration we've been doing for 23 years. And there are several other programs. We do workshops on busting the myths of Hinduism, Islam, Christianity. We hold a lot of myths. As a result, we don't get closer with people. We have to bust those myths. And we are starting a new series called The Essence of Religion. That is, when you hear the essence of each religion, it is the same. That is, being humble, being friends with the fellow human beings. How do we create a society where all of us can feel secure about who we are, regardless of our faith, ethnicity, what we look like. And this is very important, that we build cohesive societies, that each one of us is secure. And we are also doing a program on Islam. Dr. Safi Kaskas and I are presenting common sense Islam. The majority of the Muslims follow what is common sense, but some don't get it. So, but we are providing a voice for those who believe like us. And eventually, we want to create a society where all of us can get along and not have any. Can you hear me, everybody? Yes. Because my voice is down. So that's about the Center for Pluralism. Now, time to introduce our guest. The detailed introduction is there on the paper. Let me see. I'm trying to read it because I don't want to miss some key points. Dr. Khaled Almaeena joins us today with his wife Summer and daughter Lena. He is a humanitarian, defender of workers' rights, rights of women, a human rights activist, a veteran Saudi journalist, media commentator, a businessman, and of course, a family man. Khaled was the editor-in-chief of Arab News and later on Saudi Gazette. His op-ed pieces have appeared in newspapers around the globe. He has worked for the advancement of women and was the first employer of women in Saudi at Arab News. Later on, his daughter Lena was appointed to the Shura Council in Saudi in 2016. He is a vanguard of workers' rights and had focused on reporting and seeking justice for them. They were Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, and Muslim workers. He is known as the man behind the green truth. Khaled was recognized for standing up for the rights of oppressed and projecting the true values of Islam. The Pakistani government awarded him their highest civilian award, the Sitara-e-Imtiaz. I'm sure those of you from the subcontinent may recognize Dilip Kumar was also awarded the same award after Khaled got his award. In the Philippines, he was honored with an honorary doctorate as well. At the Center for Pluralism, we see an alignment of our work bringing people together and standing up for the rights of others to create secure societies for every human being. Would you please welcome Dr. Khaled Almaeena, the man behind the green truth, defender of human rights, and a fellow pluralist, with a big round of applause. Yes. I am short, that's why I didn't stand behind it.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here with all of you. Some people I've been following on Twitter, read about them, and indeed it's a pleasure to be here. Well, I'm very fortunate to have come from a family of pluralists. As you had said, that we are made by how our minds are made, either at home or nowadays by the media. I always believe that we, in the final analysis, we are all human beings. We have the same, if you cut any one of us, the blood is red. So there is not much that can hold us to be together. And you spoke about pluralism, and I remember I read one of my heroes, General Dwight Eisenhower, and when he was asked, do you hate Germans? And he replied in one sentence, I don't hate in plurals. Great answer. So this is the way how it is. But then again, some of the people here asked me to speak about what's happening in Saudi Arabia, because you see, when you read here, and I read the newspapers of the United States while I'm back home there, you get, fits what's happening. Let me tell you something. In the last 3 or 4 years, there have been great changes there, in the sense that things have gone back right on course. For years, there was the extremist philosophy, there was suspicion of others, there were things that were themselves alien to the very ideology of our religion, but the religion has been hijacked all over the world by self-appointed mullahs, sadhus, pandits, priests, whoever it is. And I think it's right now people like us in this room should try and strive and see to it that we get it back on course. In Saudi Arabia these days, people talk about women's rights. They existed, but the media never focused on them. A gentleman asked me whether there's an art and culture. So I said, yes. They usually refer to us as the land of sun, sand, and oil. But believe me, a literary movement has been going there for about 100 years. I remember songs. My grandfather used to listen to local songs. So we have our version of Ashok Kumar and Muhammad Rafi and others who sing. So these are the things that people don't know. Or the media tries not to push forward. I don't know why. I've been in the media, but let me assure you that 90% of what I read, I'm a liberal. I am secular politically. I see what's going on, and I'm aghast and really disappointed at really so-called quality papers in the United States when they report on Asia and other places. You think that, you know, everything is haywire out there. So I think that Saudi Arabia is on the right course. We have a young leadership that is focused on having reforms. The way to 2030 is not going to be an easy. Mistakes are going to be made, but as all humans do. But I think personally, and I would consider myself as a senior citizen, hope to see that this vision really would materialize. There's a buzz in Saudi Arabia. Young people are coming up. And for a long time, because remember, we are a patriarchal society. Most Asian societies are patriarchal. You have the tribal society, and then you have the family, where all the words come from up to down, whether it's the tribal leader or whether it's the father. Right now, young people are coming in. They are having their own decisions. You have ministers at the age of 35. You have women ambassadors all over. So we can see a new type of resonance in the area. And this, to me, is very positive. Again, Dr. Mike said to me, we speak about pluralism, and we talk about how the points of convergence are. Let me tell you also, while Saudi Arabia used to be on the receiving end, most of the international aid, and after the United States or Japan, we were number 3 in international aid for countries where disasters struck. So you would see that Saudi aid to India, which is a Hindu country, or to Mexico, which is a Catholic country, would go without any focus on color or any other factors. It was given on a humanitarian basis. Many things are happening. Unfortunately, they were never reported, or they were sidelined or misreported. So let me assure you that what is happening now in Saudi Arabia is a great renaissance. You see, people coming up, goals, and lessening the dependence on oil. This is very important. So you have a new economic frame of mind, which is now focusing on how to get things done, because you know the Teslas are coming and other things are coming, but at the same time there is a strong and deep-rooted feeling that we have to be going ahead and to be passengers on the train of progress rather than be mere bystanders. So that is the thing. I was asked whether it was safe for a woman to be there, and I smiled. I'm always asked that there are women here who can answer that. But let me assure you, the same question was asked when women were given the right to drive. You know, people said there has been no rape cases, there have been no kidnappings, because the culture of rape does not exist. And I'm not saying as I'm a Saudi, in the whole Gulf area, and I'm speaking about, I'm not saying that we are angels, but this culture of rape, this culture of, you know, the zamindars and the others and the DSP and the CSP, and some people from the subcontinent would realize what I'm saying, does not exist. So in many ways, it is very safe for women to be there. Women are taking a greater role in society. And I always have this anecdote, which I got from someone, who said, when they asked about women in Saudi Arabia, and he said, for the first 28 years, our mothers rule us. The next 28 years, our wives rule us. Then we become harmless. So, so this is it. And then again, the role of the mother. As in the Hindu culture of the Mata, where you respect, in the Islamic version, heaven lies under the feet of the mother. So there is great respect for the mother. In 95% of the families, there are errant families everywhere, but the role of the mother, the grandmother, is very paramount in the way we are shaped up. This brings me to the other point, where we have to be very careful with parents, misguided or intentional, would not cause any grievance in our hearts for people of other religions. I was a very lucky man. I grew up among Muslims, Hindus. I went to a Catholic school and others, and for 28 years my right-hand man was called Ram Narayan, and I depended on him in the Arab news. On the left side was Ram Kumar. So I had these two Rams, the Chota Ram and the Bada Ram. the small ram and the big ram with me, you never thought of somebody from another religion. You see? But this is how we are because our parents shape us. So I think you have to focus more on parents. Now your other enemy is the media, the generalization, hatred. And I claim to be an expert. There are no experts on the subcontinent because I do go to both countries, and in both countries I'm accosted, and sometimes they say I'm an agent of this country or I'm an agent of that, but I say I'm my own agent. And I'll just give you an example of how this generalization of hatred happens. Three things. We'll start with Arafat. Yasser Arafat was asked to, when after Beirut, to come and speak in Paris. The French government, thanks to Israeli interference, did not give him the visa. Who represented Yasser Arafat? Bruno Kreisky. And the people were shouting, some of the hardline Israeli supporters, and Bruno Kreisky, who is Jewish, took the microphone and said, I am Yasser Arafat. So they all kept quiet. So you see this idea that we focus on principles rather than religion and all. In India, I went to Udaipur, which you know in the Rajasthan area, and since I speak Hindi, I asked the guy, they thought that I was an educated Pathan or somebody from the other side, which I am not. There's no ethnic connection between me and the subcontinent. And I said, first I'll say in Hindi, wo tumhara dushman hai? That are those guys across the border your enemy? And this village of Adivasis, you know, they said, no, hamara dushman, hamara pet. That hunger is my enemy, not the guy on the other side. So you see, the common factor that unites all of us is to avoid hunger, to avoid illness, to avoid disease, to look for the future, focus on the environment. These are the basic issues. The media is not doing a good job. They create hatred. Arabs are bad. Jews are bad. And you know, for years, even the Yahudi, which is in Arabic. Now the problem with the Arabs is they use the word Yahudi for the Israeli. And I always tell them no. Because there are many Israelis who are mean hombres. But I tell you, there are people in Israel who, when the cartoons happened in Europe, remember the original cartoon of Geert Wilders and others, the best article on the Holy Prophet Muhammad was written by a gentleman called Yuri Avnery, who was Jewish, he was Israeli, and I bet you no Muslim can write an article about the Prophet. The other gentleman also who wrote about the Prophet was Maxine Rodinson, who was Jewish. And the way he portrayed and the way he wrote, you see, academic, very scientific. So these are the things that we have to focus on, you see. India, you see that nowadays, unfortunately, is in the midst of some acts that are different to what of the India that I knew. But there are good people. There are people who care. Unfortunately, many of us are afraid to pick up the spade and say it's a spade, you know. We just keep quiet. So I think all of us in this room should strive to focus on being together, speaking the truth. We may not be like each other. We may have great differences. But believe me, I think in the final analysis, now the first enemy of everyone in humanity today is the scourge of the pandemic. Every country is suffering. People are dying. Where I have had friends and relatives die in the last 15 years. The same thing has happened to everyone around. So I wouldn't gloat if people die in Israel, or they die in Iraq, or they die in India, or they die in Pakistan, or it might come to me, you see. And this is important. So leaders, people in society, we might think we are small people. We always think, you know, but every word counts. I've noticed that the more I engage with people, the more, you know, not to change their mindset, the more they are understanding. It's very important. This Ramadan, or the month of fasting, Mr. Imran Khan was in Saudi Arabia. So yes. So I was sitting during the iftar, and I asked him, I like to goad Imran Khan, you know. So he's a fast bowler, I throw a spin bowling. And I said, Imran, have you ever thought of a war with India? And you know what he answered me? He said, Khaled, how can you imagine that my son would fight in war against the son of Gavaskar or Manjrekar or Kumble? Great answer. He said, how could you imagine? They can fight on the cricket pitch. But he said, I would never thought that these people are my brothers. So you see, the problem is that even people are afraid to say this because we believe that those who shout trying to put us down. I have never felt malice towards anyone, believe me. And I tell you, and all of you I'm sure not. After 9/11, and since we are approaching, it was the application of the principle of collective guilt. Every Muslim is a terrorist and all. I mean, the people who did it they don't represent me. They don't represent my wife. They don't represent Muslims. The Taliban now, because of the Taliban, there's again a resurgence in the subcontinent and others against Muslims. They don't represent us. Now, ifs and buts are very crucial in world history and the global game. Now, if the Soviet Union did not invade Afghanistan, maybe 9/11 would not have happened. Maybe the Taliban would not have occurred. But who supported them? And they supported them for a cause. Even the city of Alamo, and remember the Alamo, had done 50 to 60,000 posters, remember Afghanistan. And they had Davy Crockett's picture on it. And I don't know why would Davy Crockett's picture be there in Afghanistan. It was so, the only thing they missed was Jim Boovie. Otherwise, I would have phoned them. So these were the things that you incited the whole generation of people to hate. Hate the red, McCarthy area. There's a red under every bed. Kill a red, make my day. Same thing, kill a Soviet. The Soviets went out. There were 25,000 people in Afghanistan, young people from all over the world. I was sitting in Peshawar and there was this blue-eyed boy come in about 24, 25, and he sat down and I said, where are you from? And he said, I'm from Brussels. I said, what are you doing here? He said, what are you doing here? He thought I was a European. I said, no, I just came to see my staff to take care of them because I had sent reporters from the Arab News. And he said, I have come here to fight with the Mujahideen. I said, what have you got to do? He said, no, the idea of firing a Kalashnikov excited me, and he left his job as a bartender and he went to Afghanistan. So you see that as in for whom, or people who read For Whom the Bell Tolls, you see about the Spanish Civil War, brother against brother. So the Afghan war excited people, incited. The Soviets left, and when they left, there were 25,000, 15. These people didn't know what to do. Governments are to blame. They did not take them back, put them in the mainstream society. When they came back, many of them were arrested. So there was a grievance. So there was a gentleman who said, come with me. So these are the issues. We cannot blame the acts of young people now for the follies of the old guys who were there in the ministries of defense, in Whitehall, in other places in NATO. So we are very quick to blame. I think this was created and contrived. Right now it's too late to cry over spilt milk, but what we can do together is to see whether in our personal frame of life, whether we work, whether we are in media and others, to focus on points of convergence rather than divergence. And I'm happy that we are now looking at some of the books, and I would appreciate that also the similarities between Islam, Hinduism, Judaism, Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and others, Judaism, yes, should be focused because the similarities are there. I am very impressed by the Hindu culture, especially where it concerns the elders, where it concerns the mother, which is also paramount. So these are the issues that we should focus. And we have many things original in our way of life. I'll give you a couple of examples. My wife must be tired of hearing this. After 9/11, we received about 86,000 emails from the States. People, I was here when the plane hit. I was in Boston with my wife. But what happened was, I went back, email after, we want to kill you, bloody Arabs, pigs. So on December the 19th of that year, I received an email. You know, I'm a stickler for the English language. The ones that have bad language, I just brush aside. But this guy wrote in a very good, impeccable English. And he said, Dear Mr. Almaeena, that's my family name. And he said, I would like the armies of Christ to come in Mecca and decimate all of you, and pigs and swines will walk over the Kaaba. So I looked at it. I said, let me reply back to him. So I wrote to him. There was no reply. Then on December the 25th, and I do give gifts in Diwali and Holi and Christmas and the Jewish Hanukkah. I think it's the Hanukkah. Yes, sir. So I didn't give you, but next year you are assured. So I wrote to this gentleman. I said, dear Mr. Walpert, thank you. Today is 25th of December. I cannot give you a gift except I quoted to him the verse of Mary in the Quran. And I wrote to him. Within 2 hours, he replied back, now you steal our Bible. So you see, so I explained to him, you cannot be a Muslim, and I repeat again, you cannot be a Muslim if you don't believe in Jesus Christ and the coming of Christ. Am I right? And the Virgin Mary. So when he read the Quran, I never knew who this man, in Montana, it was freezing cold. He was a lay preacher. You would understand what lay preachers are, those who have these churches of 20,000, 25,000 people. He went to the church and said, as of today, nobody would attack a Muslim because they are our brothers. He had no idea, you see. And then he and I became friends. I had no idea how old he was or what he was. And the New York Times wrote about this story, by the way. 4 months later, I received another email from another gentleman with the same family. He said, my father is very ill. So I went to Mr. Ram, who was the managing editor. I said, Mr. Ram, please post it. So the Pakistanis and Indians and others said, we pray for you. You know, the usual Eastern ways. So the people there were saying that these people, our father abused them, but these guys are praying for us. And then Mr. Walpert died because his son Jeff wrote to me. He said, I don't know what you did to my father. And he said that my father, after you started corresponding, he was a racist, a militant. Then he went for the first time in his life to the only black barber in town and had a haircut. See the transformation? From being totally anti-Muslim, anti-black and all, and a racist, he went. And yes, so these are some of the issues. What I'm trying to say is it's within each and every one of us. Forget the media. The media goes and on and on and on. Politicians use religion as a card everywhere in the world, whether in the Muslim world or the other ways. But unfortunately, in the Muslim world, it is receding. Forget Daesh and ISIS and all. They, and I say it openly, they do not represent 0.0% of the Muslim people. You hear of somebody stabbing, could be anybody. He doesn't represent us. Or somebody lynching someone in India. Again, doesn't represent the Hindus. Or somebody killing settlers in Palestine. They don't resemble represent my friend Rabbi Mark Gopin or the other people, you see. So it is important for us to be very careful, to be very astute, to be really focused when we report on these things or when we discuss these things, or we become agents of rumors. These are the issues that we should be focusing on, is try to focus and reach out. You know, I'm not in the preaching business, but let me tell you one thing, that once you explain the salient features of your religion to others and talk to them about it, it will be quite helpful in finding out that the common denominator exists. So in the final analysis, we are all together. Right now, as I said, the environment, COVID, everything is our enemy, not who comes first or who wins the election and all. So these are issues that I am very working on it. I'm happy that I came to Dr. Mike here, and I'll be more than happy to meet later on and later trips here so we can find out what needs to be done. Thank you.
Yeah, it was illuminating to listen to you, Khalid Bhai. And I'm amused that you know Urdu or Hindi, whatever, which is not your native language. I'm from India. And right now there are approximately about 200 million Muslims there. They call them minorities, but India itself is so diverse. Muslims cannot be in minority. Actually, Hinduism itself is divided into castes and groups. So the Muslims as minority is a misnomer sociologically. However, Muslims in India's current plight, politically and socially, their interests are actually protected not by Muslim leadership within India, but by the non-Muslim, particularly the Hindu leadership within India. And they are the protectors of Muslims in India, according to me as a social analyst. However, there is a tendency in Indian Muslims to look out of India for some policy guidelines. I think the decade starting from 80s, when the middle class grew in India, 80s, 90s, 2000, Indian Muslims were looking towards Saudi Arabia because there is an association between the holy sites and the governance. Actually, I know there is no association, but the Muslims who are not very well educated, they don't know the world history well, they don't know the geography very well, they look towards Saudi Arabia for some sort of illustrative guidance. So the question is, how do you think and why do you think Saudi Arabia cannot take a global leadership to communicate the concept of diversity of Islam and universality of Islam in a non-religious manner? So there is one way to communicate religion, but there is another way to deduce the religious values into the human values and communicate. Is it possible to look forward? Can Muslims look forward for that?
Saudi Arabia does not claim to be a leader of the world. It has the two. It doesn't claim it has the two holiest ones. But let me, since you mentioned this, I tell you that the fault of Indian Muslims lies with themselves. Look, go to South India, education and all. In UP and other places, these mullahs and the madrasas and all are the bane of Muslims, wearing the skull cap and moving around in the pyjama and all that, what they call, they've claimed. In India, Azharuddin was the captain. You have people playing. You have the president of India, Abul Kalam. India is a secular country. It is going through some, wobbly phase now. But in India, the beauty of India is its diversity. The Parsi sitting next to you, the Hindu, the Muslim, the Sikh and all. Unfortunately, the Muslims looked outside. Why should they support Daesh? Or why should they support ISIS? Why should they support foreign elements? It's none of your bloody business. Focus on education. Get your people to work together. Be a part of the mainstream instead of moaning and complaining all the time. Be a part of India. In India, you can be anything. Okay, the courts are there. So you see, we cannot just go on blaming, and then sometimes people say, oh, Saudi Arabia did not help us. Why should Saudi Arabia? You are an independent country, you have an independent judiciary, you have an independent government, you are a sovereign state. Never look. The problem with the Muslims of the central India, not the south. Remember when India was divided by the British, the Muslims of the south did not migrate to Pakistan, because they were well off. It's only the ones in the central. So I think the Indian Muslims should depend on themselves, focus on education, not allow Barelvis and Devbandis and all these mullahs and gullahs come over and try to fool them with their mumbo jumbo. Just as even the Hindu hardliners, the Baba Ramdevs and all these people should not try to fool these people. So I don't think so they should look up to Saudi Arabia. They do look, but I mean, they have to now change their... No, they look up for things. Okay, then why don't you follow Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia has now gone leaps and bounds in 3 years. They stopped, the Adhan is there. They stopped the microphones from blaring out. Why didn't the Muslims did not fall? They said, no, we will not. There are so many things happening in Saudi Arabia. Women are going ahead. Progress at all levels. They are still worried about niqab or that Fatima Bibi or Asya Bibi, I don't know, talaq, which is totally un-Islamic. I tell my Hindu friends that what you see from many of the Indian Muslims has nothing to do with Islam. It has to do with the peers and faqirs. The peers and the dargahs and has nothing to... I laugh when I go to India. They are not Muslims. You see, so they have to blame. So don't look up to Saudi Arabia. Look up to Saudi Arabia for progress. Look up to Saudi Arabia what is happening. Look what is happening in every aspect of life. And look, of course, for religious studies, certain things. But you cannot blame. If they become Wahhabis, they blame Saudi Arabia. If they become extremists, they blame Saudi Arabia. Don't. Look within yourselves. I have hope for India because, as I said, the beauty of India lies in its diversity. And I say it very honestly, but we have to rise up. Education, they're mainly focused. I will tell you something, I will leave out the expletives, which I'll tell my Indian friends later. I was sitting and one guy came to my office in the Arab News. Now, the Arab News was focused in the first English language daily. Many of the people who read us were expatriates. The 80s, the Indians were reading, the 90s, the 2000, and other people started reading us. So this fellow came and he sat in my office and he came with somebody. I said, first of all, I don't know this man. Let him sit outside. Then when he sat, and this I think will relate to everyone, and especially to all of you from the subcontinent, he spoke to me and said, this man outside, he is a great player. He plays in Shivaji Park, and you know Shivaji Park in Bombay. I said, what is he? He's better than Tendulkar. So I said, call him inside. I said, why are you not playing cricket? He said, sir, I want to serve Islam. I said, serve Islam? I said, serve Islam. I've become a muaddin. I said, even a muaddin, anybody can open a tape recorder and do the adhan. So I said, you want to serve? You are a fool. And I abused him. Ma behan ka gali. And I said, I told him that, fool, when you go and score a century for India, like Tendulkar does, the Hindu will not say you are a Muslim. They will say you are an Indian, you are winning at Lord's or at the Oval or in Australia. And you are saying you want to serve, you can serve Islam being a sportsman. I said, Muhammad Ali Clay, the grandson of a slave, in Illustrated Weekly, sports, 56 times on the cover, stripped off his title during the Olympics, fought, and when he died, the 3 remaining presidents attended his funeral because he was not only a sportsman, he was talking about people, he was a humanitarian. So you want to become a Muslim, get 100 runs for India. So you see, this is the problem with the Indian Muslim, the miskeen attitude, the self-growling in pity and all of that. I agree with you, and I say this also our friends who are from India, there is growing pain in India, there is rising extremism, Islamophobia and all, but there are courts, there is justice, there are platforms that you can really avail and then fight your case.
I think the Saudis have been very helpful in they're beginning to be a peace between Israel and some surrounding countries, the United Arab Republic, Bahrain, but Saudi itself hasn't stepped forward. Is that possible in the near future?
Well, I'll take you back to Beirut 2002, when the late King Abdullah announced, and Sharon had just gone to the hospital, but he announced that there will be 22 Israeli embassies in the Arab world if we agree on a settlement, if UN resolutions 242 and 338 are implemented. And the headline in my paper was 22 Israeli embassies, hopefully. What happened? Sharon went the next day, they attacked Arafat, put him in a cage, and things happened. So I think negotiations are a two-way street. If there is a realization that all of us are here to stay for a better Middle East, then I think yes. But I think these are sham peace movements, more cosmetic. Real issues, settlements, real issues of people in jail, real issues of burning of olive branches and other things, and rights should be moved. And I think there are many Israelis on that side who want that. So that, yes, it can happen. And Saudi Arabia, as I said, I'm not speaking for myself. Check 2002, the Beirut Arab Summit. And by the way, everybody was thinking that maybe Shimon Peres would be coming over. But he could not because the hardliners refused. And the Arab peace plan. Very open, no ambiguity, no double speak. It was a very clear piece. Come, do this, we will do this, and we'll go ahead. It didn't happen.
My question is related to the insurgency in Afghanistan, and overall, it's like is in a Muslim world. Taliban are the new rulers in Afghanistan, and in past, Saudi Arabia has been a great inspiration for them. That was a big model for them. My question is, under the Mohammed bin Salman's 2030 vision, and as you have briefed, Saudi Arabia has apparently changed, and it is changing all the discourses. So do you think this new ideology coming from Riyadh is going to inspire the Taliban in Kabul?
Saudi Arabia was never an inspiration for the Taliban, ever. Even they came. As the Taliban were having control all over these years, women were going up and down, people were... So the idea that you equate the Taliban with the Saudi ideology is totally wrong. Absolutely. Now, do we have a control over them? I don't know. The people who created them, they were created for a certain purpose. How did they come within, people are saying Saudi Arabia, you leave $85 billion worth of equipment. Yesterday they had a rickshaw. It's a great, I don't know if you've seen the picture, and tying a helicopter, and the rickshaw driver is driving away with a helicopter from an air base. Do you blame Saudi Arabia for that? Do you blame Saudi Arabia for other things that the Taliban did? No. So we are not an inspiration. We do hope that they will become like us, but we are in no way responsible, past, present, or future. It's for them, it's for those people who suddenly left Afghanistan. And while people are now talking about women's rights, what about the bombings that happened all these years? What about the innocent people that were killed in Afghanistan at wedding parties and others? So we should look at those issues. But again, let me...
You said that, pointed out that the media are to blame for spreading hate. But we have seen that the narrative also flows to a large extent from the political leadership. And media takes a cue, and then it metastasizes, and then it changes into different forms of discussion, like social media platforms. It goes there, and then it is in people's court. So what is the role of political leadership in setting a narrative that is building harmony and working towards peace?
Apart from that, I think even political leaders are very selfish. What I think thought leaders, people like you who will persist, we may be slow, but we'll still keep on digging at the rock, hitting it to see to it that we reshape it. Difficult because, politics is being used by so many people all around the world. I would think that it's people like us, like you and me and others who sort of go on persisting and doing it. Political leaders look for votes, look for reports, look for balances, Gallup polls and all. You and I don't. This is very important. Academia also is very important. It's how you teach your students.
Should not look why they are looking to the Saudi Arabia as a leader. There are two reasons. Number one is the primary reason is for the holy places. And the secondary, of course, they are rich. They were a rich country. So if Saudi Arabia made this holy places just like a Vatican City, probably they don't look at Saudi Arabia as their leader. This is
Well, Sweden is a very rich country. So why shouldn't Muslims look at Sweden? You said about a rich country. They should look at it as the land of the Holy Mosque, as a guidance, as things like that. But do not equate your local politics. If you are somewhere sitting in Agra or Aligarh and all and running a local elections, you do not think of Saudi Arabia. You think of what you are going to do within the community, how to garner votes and do stuff like that. So this is what I said. Yes, Saudi Arabia is a beacon, and now it is going on a path that is excelling. Yes, so follow it. Do what it does in some ways, but then again, you are a sovereign country, you are independent people, wherever you are. You see, this is very important.
His efforts at reform, or does it come from the House of Saud or the Saudi Arabian population as a whole? What is responsible for this? And two, will there be a logical end to this in secularizing, and I mean the word secular in a good way, Saudi Arabia, Will all religions get recognition? Will it be possible for, say, outsiders or people who have lived there long enough to become Saudi citizens, which, which happens in other countries? So what would be the logical course?
Well, I think the reforms are, I would say, a personal quest to make Saudi Arabia transform. Remember, the old guard focused on oil, and I think when the Crown Prince came, he must have been at the crossroad. Either I go and make these drastic changes, or in 10 years, if oil dries out, the country will be a country of paupers, a country where there will be famine and it will not flourish. So I think that was a very brave decision to take. So I think the good thing that also happened, that 70% of the Saudis are under 30 years old or 35 years, and they are now with him. So this is a great idea. And even as I said, senior citizens know and realize that without reforms, end to corruption, when people were locked up for some time, people say, oh, there's human rights. But you have to put an end to corruption at one stage or the other. Now, drastic measures sometimes are necessary, because for years this stream was going on. That was one. Secondly, you mentioned about whether people will have the right for citizenship. Even, by the way, people from Muslim countries, the system was, it took a long time. I think slowly it is going to change. And Dr. Safi will tell you also, people who live 40 years, 45 years could not get. But I think there are so many elements that are changing. And remember, the first prime focus of the new leadership was end to corruption, alternative, diverse ways to get the economy restarted. Believe me, you said we are a rich country. Richness is because of sustained economic capabilities. And oil is not a sustained value, because it could go or something could happen. So this is important. So I do agree that there will be changes, there will be positive changes, and that this new leadership is cognizant of the fact that we have to be on this train of progress, and that we are part of this global team. We are part of the G20. Many things are happening. And believe me, what happened was some of the things were put in the back burner. People complain that, oh, movies have come. Movies existed. A gentleman asked me whether you have a literary reforms or literary progress. They existed. But now their focus is more on literature, arts, culture, rights, women's progress, and they have been accepted. There has been no, and it doesn't just come from up to down. I see young people. Before I came, and I knew I had to speak to you, I asked 10 people last Friday whether, do you approve what's going on? And all of them said yes. There are pitfalls, there will be mishaps on the way, but there is positivity, and there's a buzz in the air.
The evolution of relationship between India and Saudi Arabia in the last 6-7 years, Saudi and Modi government, I think it has progressed a lot. Now, how the Saudi government looks at the subcontinent, what kind of relationship it wants to have?
Very good question. And even for those, it's pertinent to those who are not from the subcontinent. For years, India thought that Saudi Arabia was looking at India through the Pakistani prism, through the looking glass of and this existed. If you remember that King Saud went to India in 1955, 20 years later, then later on, the late Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru visited, Mrs. Indira Gandhi came. Relations between India and Saudi Arabia were totally economic, you know. I think in the past few years, they've gone from the economic to the social to the how would I say, business interest. Example, $20 billion were invested in the Ambani Group. The largest research center for SABIC, which is the Saudi Arabian Basic Industries, is in Ahmedabad in India. So you see, there has been more and more people are going. Yoga is on the rise. Things are happening because there was that bamboo curtain between us and India. Not out of commission, but more so by omission. That is one. And the Indians have realized that relationships are one way, rather not depending on Islamabad and all. But there is, friendly relations with both. And it's in the prime interest of Saudi Arabia to see that the subcontinent be a land of, peace and mature and healthy relationship between the two parties. So I truly believe, yes, now there's the Saudi-India Economic Commission, the joint bilateral relation, and you can see more and more of India. And remember also, the Indians took a head start, because we used to read, like you read about us in the New York Times or in others, so you used to read about India in a very negative way. Pick up any paper, you can find out. I mean, when I read the book, Oh Calcutta, I was so depressed. But when I go to India and the South, I mean, totally different. Yes, poverty exists. Yes, there's the fakirs and this and that. But there is a vibrant people. And the people who aspire and want to go ahead. So I think relationships are on the right course, not just because of the Modi government, because Saudi Arabia also realized that India is a regional player in the region, and it has its own mindset.
It has the Muslim World League there. Nobody forced Saudi Arabia to create the Muslim World League. And it's supposed to represent all Muslims, supposed to be a people representatives. Then it has the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. It's supposed to represent the governments of the Muslim world. So it's not an accident that Muslims look up to Saudi Arabia. It is a designed policy. This design policy failed. If Saudi Arabia want to care about Saudi interest, it should free those organizations. So maybe an ex-Lebanese can be the president or the Secretary General of the Muslim World League, or an Indian, the Secretary General. Is that possible? No, not today. So there are reasons why Muslims look up to Saudi Arabia. If we want to change, we want to change to the middle path. We are an ummah wasata. We need to practice that. We are the people of the middle. God called us in the Quran an ummah wasata. If we want to move forward, we need not to be on the extreme right like we used to be when Wahhabism was ruling Saudi Arabia, nor at the extreme left, where we have thousands of people gathering herself to the public. This is not a no-no, and this is a no-no. In the middle is respecting ourselves and respecting the people that come from everywhere. Sorry about the antithesis. Hopefully we can have a synthesis now.
No, that's true. But no, that's true. But what I think she meant, why the Indian Muslim won't know what the OIC is or the WMO. By the way, the OIC has different, every year they change, every 4 years. What I was saying, that they look upon to us. It is not Turkish, Hassan Oglu, Malaysian. Now there's a gentleman from Chad. But what the question was, that they look upon their, why is this happening? There are Indians and Pakistanis saying, why did you introduce movies in Saudi Arabia? They were more upset. The Saudis were happy. Movies existed in Saudi Arabia. Let me tell you, not now. Now they've come out in movie theaters. My mother saw most of James Bond movies in the 1970s in movies. But now it's out in the open, people are coming out. But what that question was, that why is it happening? I find more resentment and negativity coming from Muslims outside. So if they want to look at us, up to us, they should see what we are doing. But very few people would know what the OIC is.
The first page is not Indian news. The first page is what is happening in Middle East. The reason was Middle East was importing labor. So there are a lot of interest in the economy of the Middle East. There are a lot of Hindus and Muslims migrated, and the Urdu press would always exalt Saudi Arabia as a model for Muslims, particularly because of the religious reasons. So now, because Saudi Arabia has reformed, can it present a better face, a reformed Saudi Arabian face to the Muslims, so that Muslims in India can also understand it, what is happening in Saudi Arabia? Because a common street level Muslim
does not have to wear new clothes.
No.
But it does not have to wear new clothes. It is the same thing. They have to reform the mindset of the Urdu media. No. The mindset.
From all over, people contributing, earning money in Middle East and opening madrasas. Why can't you open a normal secular school? Muslims wouldn't do that. You know,
They should do it. I can't go to India.
But there are also other mechanisms through which
So they should do it. I can't go to India.
change. That is what I'm trying to say.
I think it's happening in Saudi Arabia. I don't think it's the responsibility of Saudi Arabia
No, it
to
is not
make
responsible.
changes in
No,
India
it is not
for Indian
responsible.
Muslim.
Any
I
other
just want to
questions we
say
have?
two things
Let's get some more questions.
to affirm. May I say what Dr. Khaled said earlier? I think God's master plan for all of us is to love one another, and he spoke enough about that, Muslim and non-Muslim. I also, as a woman that lived in Saudi Arabia for 30 years, I want to say I have never lived in any place in the world where I felt safer. I think Saudi Arabia has been, to me, the safest platform, the safest ground. I have done so many things. I have worked for socially, I have worked for spiritual work, I have done philanthropic work, all under that umbrella, without fear. And I have been told not to. I have been told I'm not allowed to, and I kept saying, I will continue to do the work I do until somebody tells me not to, and no one in 30 years came and said, you can't do this or you can't do that. We were able to do so much, and we have done so much, and I think it's probably one of the safest platform. There are changes right now, and when you go through changes, it's natural to feel uncertainty and for people to feel fear. But truthfully, if you don't break the law, it's the safest.
It's up to the occasion. Why is it that it's only Saudi Arabia that speaks for Islam? We want to hear other Muslim countries rise and speak about Islam and defend Islam. It's not only Saudi Arabia who has to do that. Where is Pakistan? Where is Malaysia? Where is Indonesia? There are so many Muslim countries around the world. Why is it that they want to look only to Saudi Arabia? Muslims are Muslims. It's not only the Muslims. No, only Arabs are the Muslims. There are so many Muslims all over the world. What is the role? What did they do? If they want to, even when there was a war on terror and war on Islam, and Islam was being attacked, it was always Saudi Arabia that has to defend, and always blamed about the Taliban and about this and that. Where is the role of the Arab Muslim countries? There are Muslims all over the world. What are they doing? Why is it always that Saudi Arabia has to be blamed for it?
It's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same sentence, but my argument in this regard is because Saudi Arabia or Saud, they have a greater sanctity in the Muslim world. Everyone say terrorism is forbidden, it shouldn't have happened in any corner of the world. But when it comes from the mouth of a Saud or for Imam Kaaba, it means a lot for even the militant organizations and the societies, the tribes. When I was talking about the Taliban in Saudi, of course, I was never ever mean that Saudi Arabia is like a teacher of the Taliban or they are funding Taliban, never. But intellectually, and they are source of inspiration because there is a moral policing, there is a tribalism, they are implementation of the hardline Islamic laws. That's why they idealize the Saudi Arabia. Actually, the Saudi Arabia we have seen like a couple of decades ago, but now the Saudi Arabia under MBS, I would loudly and clearly say under MBS, it is giving a different picture to the world. So this picture should be translated and transcribed to the Muslim world in a very clear manner, and it will have impact. This is what I say.
Thank you, Hassan.
Thank you.
They're working on themselves right now.
Any other
They are
questions
a
here?
project in motion. They're working on themselves. We should look at them perhaps in the future as an example and learn from this example. But right now they're in progress. They have not gotten to the safe place. And so they're not able to help others when you're trying to work on yourself. It's not always possible.
Let me ask Richard and Levy, do you have any questions?
I'm not sure, and I'm not an expert, but I thought the major influences on the Taliban were Deobandi. But I'm fascinated by the insights from our people who are reporting from India, because from the Western perspective, it's a tendency, it's actually a habit of simplifying everything. So for decades, for years, every Saudi was Zaki Yamani, or every Saudi was Osama bin Laden, or every Saudi was Walid bin Talal, and that's how they attach to it. This is what Saudi Arabia is. This is the Saudis' message. And a lot of our work over the years has been, no, it's vastly more nuanced than that. What you really want to try and understand is what Saudis complain about rather than what we complain about Saudis. The point being is, and I think Iman speaks very much to it, Saudi Arabia, this is transformational, this moment. And by the way, you mentioned MBS. I think the untold hero in this story, if it's a hero, is King Salman. Because he's the one who put all this in place. He's the one who gave the levers of power to change these things. But my point is it's fascinating to hear that, what's this message you're giving to me? This is the message I'm taking from you, when in fact it's kind of narrow. It's too narrow. And Saudi Arabia, I think, as it tries to reform itself, is very consciously trying not to impose its message on everyone else. So what your point is, figure it out for yourself. Listen to us or don't listen to us. We're trying to figure it out ourselves, and we're progressing. But I really just want to share, I see the myopia from the U.S. perspective on Saudi Arabia. It's really interesting. I'm not going to characterize the myopia because I think it's much broader than that. It's very interesting to hear your perceptions from India. This is the message I've been hearing, and maybe it's not a complete message.
Yeah. So we need a twist in the messages now. That would happen. That should happen. It is not interference. It is how you herald your value system, change set in the value system.
Let him address his question.
But so much of that, as you say, was tied to the economic lifeline that the Gulf represented. So absolutely, it's going to be on the front page.
Yeah.
This is why like-minded people on both sides should get together. It is going to be a tough road. I'm not saying you and I can sit for 60 years. We will not be able to solve the problems of the neighborhood in Jerusalem, but at least there will be a start. The people who come after us will pick on from where we started. Exactly. This is why I'm optimistic. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You
We invited 5 people from each tradition, but unfortunately, because of the long weekend, everybody was out, and I'm glad to see representation here. And I want to thank everyone in the last minute to come out here, and appreciate each one of you. And what would be the takeaway points would be, as you were mentioning earlier, it is to learn to respect the otherness of others. You are who you are. I am who I am. How does it matter to me how you worship? Does it affect me in any form? What you eat does not affect me. Why should I bother about what you eat? For an entire lifespan, between spouses, between families, between things, we constantly want others to change for us. And we live in conflict. If you drop that idea and start learning to accept for who we are, then most of the conflicts will fade away and solutions emerge. And that is the message we have from Center for Pluralism for all of you. Learn to accept each other among the family members. And the other short message I want to give is forgiveness is a key to living with freedom. If you forgive others for whatever they have done to you and seek forgiveness, all of a sudden you find freedom. It is a very difficult thing to do, but when you do, you find freedom. When you go home today, pick up the phone, call your sister, brother, your patient, clients, ask them forgiveness. You find freedom in it. So we're just waiting for Chidanand. I think he has gone to the restroom. He's not coming back. Well, let's observe. Chidanand, you want to say a thing about Gauri Lankesh?
Well, his wife was a very brave journalist, and she was assassinated a couple of years ago. I used to read her, and she stood up and fought for something. So I think we should have just a moment's silence for this lady who left us. She's no more, and we hope that she will be blessed and be in a better place than she is now.
1 minute silence, please. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And those of you who want to give a short 1 minute crisp feedback, you're welcome to do that.
And can we have also emails of everyone, because we can exchange articles or something so that it can be of use to you. You can send something to me that will enlighten me, so that will be of a great help to all of us.
I'll pass the sheet on.
I'm sure you have the list.
Yes, I have the list. Yeah.
Thank you very much. You made my day.
You are watching Capital TV Washington, the best South Asian TV channel in North America.